we approach rapidly the end of the calendar year. We're a little bit over a month away from greeting the new year. But we come even closer to the end of the liturgical year. Advent is soon to come, and with that Advent, a new liturgical year starts. In the same way that during one calendar year, the earth orbits around the sun, in the same way, during one liturgical year, the church orbits around Christ, watching its different mysteries, contemplating the different angles of the mystery of being Christian. In the same way that as the earth orbits around the sun, we have different seasons throughout the year, also as the church orbits around Christ. We go through different seasons: Advent, Christmas, Lent, Easter, ordinary time. And as we come to the end of this calendar year and liturgical year, we can only but must acknowledge that everything ends. Everything comes to an end. And today in the gospel, we have heard that even those things that appear to be more stable and that appear to be impossible to move, like the stars and the sun and the moon, everything comes to an end. Everything is provisional. And think about it. Everything about our human life is provisional. One day, you're a kid sitting in the pews. The next day, you're a parent trying to keep your kids calm. One day, you are a recently married couple. Next day, you are the Palucci's waiting for kid number 6. One day, you're a family excited about their first kid, joyful about receiving their firstborn. And the next day, you're a St. Mark family trying to keep hold of your 7 kids at Coffee and Donuts. So everything in life is provisional. Even technology is provisional. One day you're so excited because you got your iPhone 10, and the next day, iPhone 11 came out. Some people get to enjoy beauty, but even beauty comes to an end because you start to age and then beauty becomes fleeting. Even intelligence is fleeting. I was learning that starting basically 30 years, your intelligence starts to decline rapidly. Not rapidly, but it starts to decline. So everything in this human life comes to an end. Everything comes to an end. But that's why in the first reading there's an interesting character that appears. In the midst of everything human being provisional, there's a character that appears that reminds us that only God is not provisional, and that's Michael the archangel. What does Michael mean? Who like God? So while everything is provisional, Michael reminds us that only God is unconditional and eternal. So what are we meant to do with the fact that everything is provisional? That beauty, technology, intelligence, our moment in life is provisional. What do we make out of this? My sense is that a logical conclusion of everything being provisional is that we have to live this life a little bit unattached of everything. That means that prosperity, we have to be unattached to it. But it also means that adversity, we have to be unattached of it because everything is fleeting. And I think that a logical conclusion of everything being provisional is that we have to live this life with serenity. So let me bring you this question to your life. Do you have more serenity in your life than those who are unbelievers? In your life, do you take adversity and prosperity with more serenity, with more peace, with more calmness than those who have no faith? Because you understand that everything is fleeting and even the worst news will pass? I want to share with you a beautiful anecdote from the life of St. Ignatius of Loyola, a saint that I really admire. So when St. Ignatius of Loyola moved to Rome with the first Jesuits, everybody in Rome was fascinated with the Jesuits. They were trending. They were, everybody was happy with them because they were, so proactive, so spiritual, so young. All the cardinals were enthusiastic about the Jesuits. But there was one Italian cardinal who wasn't at all happy about the Jesuits. And he thought that instead of Ignatius of Loyola starting a new religious order in the church, this Italian cardinal, he was convinced that the right answer is that they should be part of one of the old religious orders and that they should reform the old religious orders. So all the cardinals, all the Pope, in favor of the Jesuits, giving them all of their support, opening all the doors for the Jesuits, but one cardinal against the Jesuits. You know what happened? That cardinal that was against the Jesuits, he became Pope. And one day, St. Ignatius of Loyola was having lunch with the first Jesuits. And they said, Father Ignatius, we have a news for you. And they said, you know that cardinal that was against us? Now he's Pope. And the biographers say that the moment he received this news, he went pale. He went pale. But his biographers say that he asked his brother Jesuits to be excused, that he went to the chapel for 15 minutes, and he came back as joyful and as serene as he was before receiving the news. Why? Because St. Ignatius of Loyola understood that everything was fleeting, that everything was meant to pass, and in the same way that there was a pope now, then there was going to be a pope later. And us, if we are deeply rooted in Christ, when we hear this gospel, that where we see that everything will pass by, we must be rooted in Christ. So again, I ask you this question. In your life, do you live with the serenity of a true Christian? Or do you live as anxious and as unstable as those who have no faith? And this past week of the elections, maybe you saw those people posting their meltdowns because a certain president was elected. Well, guess what? This president will, he'll be there for 4 years and then a new person will come. So my encouragement for you is reflect in your life the serenity of a true Christian. And the second point I want to share with you is very profoundly related. Precisely because we understand that everything in this world is fleeting and all this reality is only provisional, then we can understand why Christians are eager for the coming of Christ. Because we know that when He comes, He will make everything right. So let me give you an example. Isn't it absolutely true that when Christ comes to the life of a person, He makes the life of the person better? Didn't Christ make your life better when He came to your life? Isn't it true that when Christ comes to a family, He makes the family life better? Isn't it true that when Christ comes to an institution, it makes always the institution better? So why would we fear the second coming of Christ if we know that His presence makes everything better? So precisely because we know that everything is fleeting and everything is meant to change, That is why in every Mass and in our hearts, a true Christian is eager for the coming of Christ, not with fear, but with joy and with eagerness. So, brothers and sisters, what is my encouragement for you this week? Live adversity and prosperity with serenity. Remembering everything that happens to you, that is provisional. It won't stay forever. If it's good, it won't last forever. If it's bad, it won't last forever. Live with the serenity of St. Ignatius of Loyola. Live with the peace that it's meant to be a fruit of the understanding that the only one that remains is Christ. Like St. Michael means, who like God?